Grammar question, springs, colon, springs, long dash, two. Okay, we've got a few different options here. I'm pretty sure we're not going to have a colon with two or a long dash with two or even a comma two. My guess is probably going to be some sort of infinitive without any commas or punctuation. But let's take a look. The 47 geothermal springs of Arkansas Hot Springs National Park are sourced via a process known as natural groundwater recharge, in which rainwater percolates downward through the earth, in this case, the porous rocks of the hills around hot springs. I take that back. Looks like we have an opening long dash parenthetical. Two, we need a closing long dash parenthetical. So downward through the earth to collect in a subterranean basin. That makes sense. That's how we'd read it without the long dash to long dash parenthetical if we sort of took that dependent clause and pulled it out. So C is going to be the correct answer. We've got, looks like, element on the periodic table and then with a but, and in this case a comma but, which suggests maybe independent clause combinations. The others don't. So I'll probably focus on this, and because it's a parenthetical element, we might be having, well, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on. Material scientists such and such and their colleagues believe they could improve on the multi-component alloy nickel, cobalt, chromium, I guess that is an equal proportions mixture of nickel, cobalt, and chromium by replacing chromium with ruthenium. And we don't need a comma between ruthenium and the parentheticals, the actual parentheses. None of the answers do, so that's fine. Comma, the alloy that resulted, the nickel, cobalt, chromium, or ruthenium in this case, comma, turned out to be an unsuitable replacement. So, by replacing the chromium with ruthenium, it could be comma, the alloy that resulted. So what's going on? Let's just check our independent clauses. Material science and their colleagues believe they could improve on the multi-component alloy, nickel, chromium, an equal part mixture. So this is a dependent clause, right? By replacing with ruthenium, that's a dependent clause. And this is the independent clause. So up to here, we have an independent clause, right? They could replace the multi-component alloy by replacing ruthenium. But the alloy that resulted, nickel, turned out to be an unsuitable replacement for, so that's actually an independent clause. So the alloy that resulted turned out to be, yeah, that's an independent clause. So I'm going to need my comma but. None of these will do. It can't just be ruthenium, comma. That might be appealing to a number of students, and it kind of reads okay if you don't realize that this is an independent clause before and an independent clause after. D has to be our answer. It's the only answer that will combine independent clauses. Grammar question. We need walls with, walls comma with, walls period with. So this is the only one that combines independent clauses again. So as typical, I'm going to start here. In 2010, archaeologist Noah Hidalgo-Tan was visiting the 12th century temple of Angkor Wat in Cambodia when he noticed markings of red paint on the temple walls. That's an independent clause. Period. With the help of digital imaging techniques, that would be a dependent clause up front, separated by comma, he discovered the markings to be part of an elaborate mural. That's an independent clause. So again, we have our standard independent clause, period, dependent clause, comma, independent clause, in our new digital SAT boundaries format. D is the right answer. It's the only option that can combine independent clauses. The others will be run-ons and comma splices. Grammar question, falling, comma, colon, semicolon, no punctuation. What's going on? Let's take a look. So according to such and such, the reason seeds from a dying dandelion appear to float in the air while falling is that their porous plumes enhance drag. Then comma, a participle dependent clause afterward. Don't care much about that. So the reason, this is our main clause right here. The reason seeds from a dying dandelion appear to float in the air while falling is, I wouldn't have any punctuation between the falling and the verb here is. Wouldn't be while falling, comma, is. We don't have a comma before our verbs. Falling, it's not a colon. I don't have examples after. I have a verb, and that's not a independent clause beforehand up to that point. And it's not an independent clause up to that point either, so it can't be a semicolon. D is the answer. No punctuations required. Okay, we've got a grammar question, and I've got skeptical, skeptical but, skeptical comma. Skeptical comma but, this is the only one that would combine independent clauses. So as is typical for these boundary type questions, I'm going to start there. In 1727, dramatist presented a new play, Double Falsehood, at a London theater. Theobald claimed that his drama was based on a little-known play by William Shakespeare, Cardenio. Many, including poet Alexander Pope, so I can just pull that out of the sentence, many were skeptical, but historians have determined, so many were skeptical. That's actually, it's a simple sentence, but it is an independent clause. So I need a comma but. But historians have determined that Shakespeare Company did perform a play called Cardenio. This is another independent clause. I need be, comma, coordinating conjunction, comma, but to combine independent clauses. None of the other answer choices combine independent clauses. B is the correct answer.